such a simple habit, just carrying around a water bottle. Like, that's how you drink more water. And I was always the person that I never drink water. Right. Like, I remember one time I told Jimmy, I remember one time I told him, I was like, Jimmy, I haven't drinking water in a month. And he was like, what? He's like, you wouldn't be alive. And I was like, I'm serious, I haven't. I think I've just had like Dr. Pepper and Baja
think you get
and
water
sweet tea.
from like fruit?
Well, coffee.
Oh, okay.
You know, coffee every day.
Yeah.
This was years
Diluted
ago.
water.
Yeah.
That's quite literally mud water. Have you seen mud water? But you were drinking actual mud water because it's just the water. But no, mud water is like some fucking like mushroom coffee, some bullshit.
Yeah.
Some new powdered.
Dude, something about that type of branding, like mud water, or there's like charcoal toothpaste or charcoal soap, or just like, I don't know, just like something like
I saw
about
charcoal coffee the other day with all these like vitamins in it. And what people didn't realize, I guess, charcoal can negate certain medications that people take. And so people have been drinking this fucking like charcoal chai latte thingy, and if they're taking like, I don't know, maybe blood medication or like high blood pressure, or even I think maybe it was SSRIs. I don't know. It was some type of medication that it completely just like negates it.
Damn, that's crazy.
And so people were just, I don't know, kind of making fun of it because, yeah, it is it's a weird trend of like all these alternative.
Well, I feel like it's branding for males. Like, it's a weird, like,
don't use
it's like man wipes, thing. But it's like an evolved version. It's like dirt food, or like, I don't know, like dirt paste, dirt. Yeah. Like, just get in nature, get in the dirt and the wood and the metal.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Charcoal.
Yeah, it's charcoal. Like, I got this like charcoal, like Dead Sea, like sand, soap. And I just bought. It was totally like, I don't know. The marketing got me.
Was
I
it
like,
the?
yeah.
Was it fuck? What is it? I bought a bar of soap that's kind of like that.
Dude, it's a brand name. I don't buy everyday soap. No, I
bought, what was it? It was some kind of soap. It was the same thing. It was the worst bar of soap I ever bought in my life.
Dude, the charcoal industry is booming right now. Like, I don't even know how you make charcoal. It's like just burn shit.
Probably burned bodies of people that can't service our government anymore.
Maybe we should make like podcasters are known for making cringy products. Mm-hmm. Instead of making a terrible T-shirt, let's just like make some kind of charcoal, like exfoliating
some kind of supplement.
Yeah, exfoliating supplement. There we go.
Or what kind of supplement could we make? We can make a brain power supplement.
Yeah, that would be that's the classic. Either protein powder, or what do they call those brain enhancing supplements? Nootropic. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. Charcoal nootropic. Dude, is there a charcoal nootropic?
Probably
we could
not.
We could
I hear charcoal's good for your eyesight too.
Well, there you go. I mean,
also charcoal can decrease heart disease by 2%. I'm just making
and it fights.
This is how easy it is.
Yeah, it fights erectile dysfunction too.
Oh,
so
nice. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about
out
that.
Those blood veins.
Yeah, get them cleared out.
Yeah, if you're a marketer or
hit us up.
Yeah. See, that's my problem. I can't do the marketing, I'm just the ideas guy.
Yeah, we're just ideas people. Over here at Won't Become Boring.
Yeah. But anyway, I was actually thinking speaking of ideas, a fun topic to talk about a little bit today would be all of our past failed projects. Or
maybe not all, because I can't.
Well,
think
yeah,
of all
all.
Of them, but maybe we can revisit it.
We can touch on the greatest hits at least.
Yeah, in the future, I would like to bring it up too. That could be another segment that we do.
Yeah,
just like and the failed ideas we forgot.
Well, I realized we've totally forgot to talk about this last week with Vinny. Is the first podcast, which I mean, what's a failure?
Yeah.
Who's to say? But if you quit, that was more of like.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely quit, I think, before 10 episodes.
Yeah.
I think maybe it was right at 10. I don't know. I can't remember.
It was a pretty. I was like not officially on the podcast, but I was on a few episodes and would like hang out while you recorded it. But it was a pretty inefficient process compared to what you and I do now.
Yeah. Then it was very much just trying to think, just to even like. I mean, I think we all had our own mics. I think audio wise, it wasn't the worst. I've heard some pretty bad ones before, but like, yeah, I mean, as far as systematically, yeah, for sure, it's pretty just kind of thrown together.
Yeah.
But we were all pretty young. We were pretty young, like 23
Well,
ish. No, that was
this
even
was
21,
way longer
like
ago.
20, 21.
Yeah,
Yeah,
20 and 21. The Loud
Yeah.
City podcast.
Yeah, and we would just talk about bands that were more on the local side. It didn't matter if
or
it was
underground
Oklahoma.
bands in like other states that we like.
Yeah, other local bands from other states, and I mean that was fun. It would be cool to do something similar in the future, maybe, or maybe even a segment on here. I don't know. Like, I've been thinking about other podcast ideas for the future. I know you have too, at least like one or two, but
Yeah, but it's like to start a podcast is such, like you and me started this podcast out of the desire to, well, we knew for sure that we wanted to link up and just keep on iterating on this idea and growing and building. But then when you get into stuff that's more specific, like music, like that's a pretty specific area. And when I think about like, okay, start a podcast, like, which I guess people do make podcasts that are just like only 10 episodes and that's it.
Yeah.
That's the whole series. But for me, I just think like, could I continuously do this? Not really. And like you and me here, we're talking about whatever we really want to. And so it's like, yeah, I could continuously get together with my friend and talk to people and talk about ideas we think are interesting. So it's like a different proposition. But then once you get more specific than that, it's like, wow, you really have to be mega into that thing.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, which, I mean, I would even argue though sometimes, I mean, a lot of podcasts are just the old podcasts, like way back in the day before it was more so like an avenue for actors and
media
comedians and like people to basically grow their fan base or whatever. Before it was that, when it was literally just people talking, a lot of them would be about just one single thing or one single event, or like a lot of them are about
that was like the only way you get listeners, because like you were on this new obscure medium, so you had to be putting out a type of content or just a format, a long form,
which I'm
that
cool.
someone couldn't find anywhere else.
Yeah, I listened to a lot of those. I would be, I don't know. I know what you're saying though. Yeah, you would have to be really into the local underground like scene. But I mean, lucky enough, I don't think you'll ever run out of content, because there's always a new local band in a state, or not even in the U.S., that is putting out, on Bandcamp, like a 2 or 3 song demo that absolutely rips.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, but I mean, that was definitely an idea that I guess you could say it failed ultimately, but we had
it planted
quite
this.
a few. We had quite a few listeners like that I didn't think would actually happen, and met a few people because of it. Like made a couple connections with friends and or new friends,
Yeah, I mean it opened up like a few random opportunities. Like I can think of one person like Andrew who specifically said, like, came up to us before we knew him and was like, "Hey, I know you from the podcast." And it's just like, I don't know, you never know what kind of opportunities you can open yourself up to if you simply just talk openly and like try and put out good vibes and say what you're thinking and share.
No, man, I'd rather just scroll on my phone and critique it.
Yeah. Just want to judge in my own head. But
are there other failed ideas that I'm still trying to write? I know I have plenty. I'm just trying to figure out like how I want to put them in order.
Yeah, no, I mean,
have more
just,
than plenty.
just as they come up, I'm trying to think of what else we've done together that has
Oh
failed.
yeah.
Somehow our band hasn't failed, so that's. I mean, I guess it depends on how you define failure, though.
I guess this all really depends on your
Yeah.
your how you define failure. But I
Yeah.
mean, in my definition,
It's not dead though.
Yeah, no,
so,
I mean, my definition, I don't think it's failed, but
yeah.
maybe in some ways we have. Of course, no one hasn't not failed in some ways.
No, we get to decide that,
That's true.
and I say no. But I mean, we
all still love doing it, so that in itself, I think, is the amount of love can change, but it's still there. Like, and I think that really is important when you're defining something, like with if it's failed or not, you know.
Yeah, and and how do you even define project either? That's like also, that's not even a very good descriptor, but because sometimes you're like, this is a project, I guess, for you and me, but it's something that we're doing out of for its own sake. But there's other projects that you might do because you want to get better at something, or you want to prove something,
or develop a new habit, or develop a new skill.
Yeah, and like those are the places where there are infinite failures awaiting. And I mean, something I was thinking about and writing about a little the other day, I want to write more about it, is like the concept of iterations. Like I never knew that word or understood that concept before, but just the idea that something is not just the one instance of it. Like, for example, being a musician it's not just the one instance of whatever instrument or band or context point in time that you are. Like, you are iterating on it. You try one instance, you take lessons from that, you start a new one, you take lessons from that, you start a new one. And like for me, especially the last 3 to 5 years, like I've realized the richest projects and things, they come in iterations, and sometimes they reemerge in such different forms. You know, like this podcast doesn't necessarily come out of our old podcast, but it comes out of this strange culmination of just things that we've tried and ideas that we've had over the years that come out, and then we're going to try it, and then this will become whatever it does, and maybe it'll reemerge as a new idea later. I don't know, getting kind of woo-woo, but you know, just like the concept that like, hey, it's okay. It's not failure. This is natural. This is what it means to make stuff. You make it in layers and iterations. You build a prototype, then you build a better prototype.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think ultimately failure is, if you're not comfortable with failing, then you're not going to get anywhere too, in my opinion. And I mean, in a lot of other people's opinion too. I mean, failing can make you way stronger than always succeeding and always being like I don't think anyone can always succeed. And if you think you are always succeeding, then you might be just telling yourself that type of thing. And that can become a detriment too. But yeah, I mean, if you can turn failing into a tool, you suddenly become unstoppable, in my opinion. Because it's like you can just, I don't know. Unless you're like consecutively failing every single thing, meaning like you fail going to work that day, you fail filling your car up with gas, you fail, like you fail at I don't know, you're sinking $1,500 into hobbies, and then you're completely failing like every week.
Well,
that's different.
There's just like there's reality that you just have to be able to basically navigate. If you're walking into the wall all the time, you know, there's like a basic level of navigation, but
I mean, even then, you can learn from that. I mean, sometimes people don't have control over that. So life is chaotic. I mean, the world...
Or you can lose control.
Yeah, the world doesn't wait up. So, I mean, you could develop a very strong sense of... It could go either way. You could either develop a strong sense of, I'm just going to keep persevering, or you can develop a strong sense of, I'm going to give the fuck up. I mean, and not to cut and dry it, but I mean, those are the ones that my head goes through.
Yeah. Okay, and that actually, so now that gonna jump to something slightly different, but like that reminds me of something
Well, we
I've been
should talk
thinking
about our projects too.
we should. We're gonna get right back to it.
Okay.
Reminds
Yeah,
me
yeah,
of
yeah.
something I've been thinking about recently about different types of control over yourself. But because you're talking about like you don't really know what's going to happen. Like you might fail, you might succeed, but if you aren't afraid to fail, or if you are just you have a posture to where you can deal with it if you do fail, like that's an advantage. And something I was thinking about was like with control or with power. So like maybe you would say one type of power is you get a lot of money, you get a lot of influence, you get a lot of whatever. That's what people traditionally think. But then another type of power is that you internally you deprive yourself of the need of any of those things. You deprive yourself of the need of success or of the need of social points
or government.
or government
Kinda
or
what we were talking
or
about
whatever
off
it
air.
is. I mean, and that's more of maybe like an Eastern or type of perspective on things like inner control. But I don't know. For me, I look at both of those directions and I'm like, hey, there are areas in both of those directions I want to explore. Like I want to have more internal freedom. I want to also be able to develop like external freedom and earn my time back. And I don't know, there's and I think this has to do with projects, because I mean we're in a sense with the various things that you do, creative pursuits, like you're trying to manifest yourself in some sense, but you're also trying to bring something to the world that other people will recognize or appreciate or maybe even value. And and that's such a strange, I don't know, they don't prepare you for that in school. Like there's not, I feel like the wisdom of this topic isn't pervasive in our society in ways that other wisdom is. And I don't know, yeah, it's just I'm gonna keep on trying and failing in as many projects as I can.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
and I think doing that is going to give me more internal freedom. But you get punched in the face too. And it's happened a few times recently.
Yeah, dude, it has happened a whole lot in my life. I mean, I guess an easy one for me is just all the bands that I've been a part of. I don't even know if you would consider some of those failures too, because it's like bands kind of come and go. Music kind of stays, on the internet as we've seen, or it stays in the form of a disc or vinyl or whatever the fuck. Like, but I guess technically would those be considered failures? Like bands that broke up, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
Plenty of them.
I don't know.
They're
dead.
There's one called Facing Giants way back in the day. One called we were both in one, Ghost Lake.
Yeah, at different times.
At different times. Different albums.
Yeah. And that band failed, Flannel Mouth.
Yeah, Flannel Mouth was a project that Vinny and I did. We talked about it a little bit on the episode that he was on.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a little bit before The Tooth. But that's on Bandcamp. You can find that.
Yeah, that was sick though. I still think it's cool.
I really want to play one show one day, like just like not even say who's playing and just play those songs and nothing else.
Yeah.
And just like don't even say anything. Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to mention half of the other bands. It's not important.
Yeah.
For various reasons, but like yeah.
I was in a band called Poppycock with
Poppycock?
with
I think I
Nigel
kinda remember
Quigley
that
and
vaguely.
Seth Garvey for like 3.5 weeks.
Nice.
I would consider it a failure, but no regrets.
For sure. Dude.
That would fall into the category of unmentionable, but I figured I would mention it.
Yeah, why not?
But yeah, there's plenty of music projects. I mean,
Oh yeah. That's got to be the biggest one in my life now that I'm thinking about it.
yeah, music projects.
Oh yeah. Too many bands that never happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially like people that want to play music. Notice I say people that want to play music.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, and that includes people that can and people that do, but just generally, like I don't know, they're, how would you say, dodgy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like you can be in these communications where bands almost start, or where you're talking with people like, yeah, we should totally do something together.
Yo,
And then they're just super sketchy and they dip out. Ghosting, exactly. Like there's a lot of ghosts that want to play in bands.
Dude, starting bands is fucking hard and annoying. Yeah. It can be. To get everyone on at least the same page to show up at the same time is like the start of it. I don't even want to mention all the rest of it. Like,
yeah, no, we don't have to get into it, man.
Just the start of
it
to get everyone like there at the same time is the first part that's like you realize you're like, fuck, we got to figure something out quick or this is never going to work. Like,
yeah.
Which we, I think as a band, we nipped that in the bud like a long time ago, I think. And we've all been pretty, different eras where we weren't vigilant or few were not vigilant, but like at least there were at least two of us almost every week for as long as we've been a band. Primarily most of the percentage of being a band we've met weekly, maybe bi-weekly sometimes, but
yeah, I mean, pretty consistently once a week we've met, and just keeping that as the standard. So then when you deviate from it, it's like, wow, should get back to the standard at some point. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's good to set those standards, like
set that bar there. Get that bar there.
Yeah, yeah. And I find that for myself too, like that's super important, is like setting standard. Well, first of all, choosing them and then setting them, because a lot of the things we set for ourselves, they just like fall into place. Like, hey, I'm gonna drink 2 tall boy Trulies every week at practice. That's something I've been doing the past 3 weeks. So it's like, is that really the standard that I want to set? Like from now on, like, hey, I'm not saying I'm not gonna do it tomorrow, but I'm just saying I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, that was me with fried chicken sandwiches. For a minute, I was like, wow, this is really the standard. I don't like myself.
Yeah.
When I had a fourth one, like literally 4 days, it literally was the time I had 4 of them 4 days in a row from 4 different places that I finally was like, this is the standard.
See, living on the chicken sandwich everyday standard, it's like, it sounds nice on the outside.
Oh, it's delicious. It's probably the best. It is the best thing on the outside. I'm going to say this right now. It's the best meal on the outside. I will debate some. We should in a future, maybe we could even debate that is the best meal.
Man, I don't feel so strongly about it. I don't totally understand what you mean on the outside. I guess what you mean while you're eating it, but
everything about it. On the outside, it's beautiful, and then what it does on the inside, in the chest area of a human being.
And see, that's what we underrate all the time. Is we're always looking at the outside. We're like, we want to.
We look at the pickles. We look at the sauce. We look at the crispy.
You want to be the cool band on stage, but you don't want to be in the group chat. Yeah, trying to get everything figured out, or like dealing with practice space bullshit, or anything like that, or just grinding weeks in a row and during a pandemic, and there's no shows, and you don't know when there's ever going to be shows again, and I mean, so you got to consider things holistically, I guess. Yeah, is what we're really zeroing in on. But yeah, I mean, I'll bring up a recent project failure of mine, which isn't a total failure, more of just it's marooned, like a marooned ship. Yeah. Was an app I was building with a partner, with someone that I went to school with named Royer. The app is called Reclaim. And we're just trying to make an app that helps you automatically get your Facebook and your Twitter data back into a desktop app, basically in one click, and then lets you explore it from the top down. If you have decades of Facebook history, you could look at every single poke, every login, every message, every comment, every post, every picture. And so, that's what we set out to build, and basically worked on it for about 2.5 months. There were weeks where we were ecstatic, and then weeks that were just absolutely painful and crushing. And then in the end, we basically got it like 95% working to where it works in development, in our development environment, in development mode, but basically doesn't work in production. So like if we just like if I give you the file to download and you download it, like that version of it, it doesn't have the automated process in it. You have to do it manually. So we basically like we worked on this thing. We kind of were living off of our own money and blew our own money, and we were, you know, sending it out to people trying to get like people interested in it, like people that invest in apps. And you know, we had a working demo and everything like that, and then, you know, the 2.5 months came to an end. Royer had to dip out. And then I was like, okay, well, I have to start working more and I have to focus more on getting hired, because that's actually what I was supposed to be doing with my time, is trying to get my first developer job. And basically, huge long story, and I'm skipping over a lot of details, but like, yeah, you know, we picked up this idea optimistically. We were like, yeah, we're gonna make this our basic product, and then we're gonna pitch it to people, and it's unique enough. We think they're really gonna like it and gonna help us work on it more, and then we'll carry on from there. And instead, it was kind of just like, you know, it was a cool prototype, and we wasted money, and now, like in hindsight, it wasn't the brightest thing to do. And you know, it's like, one day I might pick it up again. The exact I still want to right now, and work on it and like build it get it to 100%. But it's like, maybe not. Maybe it's just an idea that will die and reemerge into something else. But you never know. You never know what's going to happen. But I just want to be the type of person that always says yes to those types of things. Or like, hell yes. And for me, this was a project that's like, I was passionate about it. I want something like this to exist. And so I was like, hell yes. And so, but I knew it was a risk. And it's like, I don't know. That's just the type of, and I know you have this attitude as well. That's just the type of attitude I want to have, that like those projects, those ideas, those things that come along that are really exciting, but maybe don't make sense or are out of your lane. You know, you have to say yes. You have to try it, because
For sure. Yeah.
I don't know.
If you don't, someone else will. So
Yeah, and exactly. And like the people that end up figuring out are the ones that tried to anyway, the ones that just started doing, just having a bias towards action. I just really have been appreciating that more, and realized in a lot of ways I don't have that naturally. Like I'm kind of lazy and a little bit anxious, and like I really care about what people think of me.
Yeah.
And I'm scared what people think of me and stuff like that. But there's also a part of me that's, I don't know, like anyone who's creative, that just wants to manifest their ideas. And I don't know, that's the part you got to lean into in some, like, even to get credit from other people. It's like you have to ignore other people.
Yeah.
And just like lean into what you're into. So kind of a long rant about that one, but that was recent project failure. Still has a bit of a sting.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet. No, yeah, you've been talking about it for a long time, and it's been cool to see it develop and hear you talk about it. And yeah, no, I mean, I hope you can pick it back up soon. I think one that I just remembered for me was a Twitch channel.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely tried my shot at streaming, which, I mean, it's kind of like the other bands like situation. It wasn't an ultimate failure, because I had fun for the most part doing it, because I mean, it's kind of hard to not have fun playing video games.
Yeah.
And you know, I had consecutive followers for a little bit, different periods of time. It was hard to do it at the same time of having a full-time job. I feel like if I didn't have a full-time job, I could have dedicated more time and energy to it, but it would be hard to mentally be like, all right, I got to play video games it wasn't that anyone can play video games for 4 to 5 to 8 hours after working 8 hours.
Yeah.
The average American male,
Well,
I would argue, does that. But when it gets hard to talk to people while you're playing video games for 8 hours, after you've been talking to people for 8 hours at work all day, like that's kind of where I was like, I don't think I realized the grind that it was really going to take to get to where I wanted to be while I was working a 40-hour job.
Yeah, and it's like that with anything. I mean, I feel like starting a Twitch channel, I feel like that's literally harder than like learning how to code while having a full-time job.
It's pretty hard. You got to stay on top of a lot of shit.
Yeah, like, if you learn how to code, it's like, you got to learn a lot of shit, and you got to put your head to the every day after work. But people do it. Lots of people do it, but man, like how many people really come through with a Twitch channel to where they're actually sustainable? And it seems like a lot from the outside, because there's like always the winner's bias where we only see the winners, not just the thousands of losers. But trust me, go to your favorite game and then go to the 8th page.
Dude, I was one of the probably like the 15th pager.
yeah, exactly.
I think the most consecutive viewers I would have would be like 5 to 10. And that's being pretty liberal. Nice. Like, that's being pretty liberal. Most of the time it was 1 or 0. Like majority of the time, and that's what a lot of people don't talk about, is that very few view count, and you just keep fucking doing it, and you keep networking, you keep making clips, you keep making, which I do have a shit ton of clips still. My Twitch channel's still up. It's Necrotic Damage, if you're interested at all.
Epic. Necrotic
DMG. But I've got like a bunch of clips of just, I don't know. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, just could not dedicate more time to it. And who knows, maybe I'll stream again one day, like if I have the time or the resources, because I do love playing video games. I mean, we've both talked about, I mean, right now it's not practical for me because I'm trying to do a lot of projects. But
see, I feel like I could almost imagine you being more successful on Twitch, like doing like music production, like mixing.
I've thought about it,
but it's it's early. I recently had an idea for kind of a Twitch channel that would be like in the just chatting genre.
Yeah.
And I was curious. I was like, I wonder what the just chatting is like. Like,
I love the just chatting channel.
I wonder what
there's a lot of good people. There's a lot of people I would watch on that, actually. Like, and I kind of miss Twitch as a media source, because there was a lot of shit. There was a lot of crap. There was just a lot of like dumbass shit on there, and there's a lot of policies they have that are pretty fucking stupid too, in my opinion. But there's a lot of cool, generous, amazing people on there, and a lot of them in the Just Chatting channel. There's like some guy that would literally do outdoors things, like he would fish, he would be in a canoe, cool. He would go camping, he would like, and thousands of people would just be watching him from their room or their phone, like being outside and doing, and that was his job.
That's
just
so interesting.
Like things like that, like avenues like that are definitely cool. I'm sure that there's coders in the Just Chatting.
Yeah.
There's DJs, there's music producers, there's
exactly. And like it's getting more and more specific how you can kind of fit into a niche. Mm-hmm. And like, maybe you would find the learning music production or junior music producer kind of niche, where you'd be learning along with the audience versus I'm sure there's many experts on.
Right.
And like with coding and stuff like that, like there's lots of expert coders on and stuff like that. But are you the person who is going to be learning?
Yeah.
And like my idea for the Twitch channel was actually when I was working on the app, because I was working on it for the first half of my day every day. And I was like, I wonder if this would be interesting for people to watch, because I'm like doing multivariate things. I'm trying to come up with designs and look up stuff and look up, like, talk to people, and I don't know, like I just wonder, like, would there be an audience for it? And I was kind of just I didn't it wasn't that I actually wanted to do it. I was more just like exploring the idea, like how many people are curious about this? Like, what would a channel like this look like? What would I be interested to see? But I mean, going to the just chatting when I clicked on it, kind of everything I saw was just was I don't know. It looked like it was the early days. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Like it was kind of just the lowest brow kind of content was there.
Yeah. There is a lot of that on Twitch for sure. There's a lot of idiots on there. But I lost my train of thought. Good thing I'm better at editing.
No, I mean, but this similar to one of my failed projects was my YouTube channel, which when I first started at Lambda School, which is where I basically learned most of how to code. Like Lambda School is remote, so it's like all over Zoom. Fully remote school, and I was thinking, like, as I was starting Lambda School, I knew I was like, okay, I'm going to be learning, but I'm also going to be, I need to start like getting ready to like get hired and like, I don't know, connect with people and build up a network or whatever, stand out. And so I was already trying to think like, how am I going to stand out? And so I thought, you know, like, what if I make a YouTube channel to like document my journey like through Lambda School, and I'll like share like what I'm learning along the way and stuff like that. And I started off by recording a few videos, like sharing like how I got into Lambda School and explaining what it was, and some of what I was learning, and like, cause they had a pre-course, like what you learn in the pre-course and what you should prepare for. And basically I made like 5 videos, I think. And I didn't release any of them yet. And just
They're just on private on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this was probably like 3 to 4 weeks. And I had done, like, I was doing research. I was like, I bought a few mics. I was learning this video editing software. And at one point, like 4 to 5 weeks in, I was like, I don't like doing this. Like, I like the idea of doing this, but the actual grind that this is, I'm not really the type of person right now that would actually do this. And it was just one of those things. I was like, okay. And I just knew in a moment, in a flash, I knew that like these 4 to 5 hours of work I put in every day for like a month was just like, oh, this isn't, I should stop. And I don't know, like in some sense it was kind of disappointing, but it was also like, wow, I'm glad that I'm at the point to where I can let go of something so fast. Like I went hard, I tried it as hard as I could. I came up with a bunch of ideas and believed in it. And then right at the point that I knew, like, I don't actually want to do this for its own sake.
Yeah.
I kind of realized, okay, I should spend my time on other things, and I put it down. And I don't know, like it's like it takes courage to like do it, and then humility to know when to stop. And it's like there's a balance of both. But that was one of those scenarios where I felt like it was a good balance. Like, I'm glad I tried it. I actually learned about video editing. I learned a ton about the YouTube algorithm and all sorts of stuff about thumbnails, and I don't know, just learn more about media and content creation.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's like this isn't my rabbit hole. You know?
It is luckily mine. More editing. Like, I'm still trying to figure out algorithms and all that, but like editing, I do like editing. It's I like kind of going back to that thing I was telling you before we recording, like how my brain functions is just very sporadic sometimes. Like I love catching it in that moment when I'm very sporadic like that. I'm like, all right, I need to edit. Like, I need to edit something right now, because then it helps my brain kind of like, okay, I need to fix this, I need to fix that, I need to move this here, I need to delete that, I need to add this here.
Yeah, puts you in an environment where you can kind of like be messy in a sense, but it's like in a box. Yeah. To where you're being productive.
Yeah, and I can control it as well. Like, I have a sense of control, like, and it's not controlling anyone besides the work that I'm working on.
Yeah.
Being productive with it. Like, that's kind of how you try and fuel those things that society loves telling you is a detriment. is really like sometimes the strongest thing that is a part of you, you know, in my, at least how I view it.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, these like traits that are negative that are often considered negative, if you're actually doing something you love, you can see them manifest themselves as being positive. And I just think that like the classic example is just like creative, lazy, sporadic people who find activities where they get into the zone and get into a place where they're focusing 4 to 5 hours and become hyper productive. Like that's where you see like, okay, there's a dynamic here. You know, some people are more middle of the pale. They kind of average focus. I don't know. I don't know. But like for me, it's just more, there are certain things that I will be like a sixth grader. And there's other things where I don't know, I might surprise you at how high level I can focus or be productive on it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that's interesting. And like I almost didn't discover that within myself, I think. And I think there's a lot of latent potential in people that looks like that looks like a negative trait, but really it could be something positive, truly positive or wonderful that they haven't yet discovered. So I showed Jana Grandma's Cottage last night.
Cozy synth.
Cozy synth, yep. And I was
the enemy of dungeon synth.
the enemy of dungeon synth. Because you and Vinny showed me last week. I guess we didn't talk about it on the podcast.
Oh yeah, I did show you last. That's
you'd showed me last week, and I don't know. I was trying to describe it to her. I was trying to say like, okay, somehow like dungeon synth, like, you know, it's trying to be grim. It's like you're in the dungeon.
Yeah.
And then somehow it made sense for someone. It's also grim to be in that world, but to be back at the cottage. To like, you're not in the dungeon anymore. Everything's fine. You got the treasure.
Yeah.
You're back at Grandma's cottage.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're in times of peace.
You're painting eggs. You're eating cookies.
It's still it's not like it's not a clarity that makes it sound like a different genre. Like it sounds like the same genre, but it's absolutely a different mood.
Yeah.
And there's no minor notes. It's all upbeat. And I don't know, there's something creepy about it, even though it's completely pretty and nice, and the songs are named like Snickerdoodle or like
painting eggs.
And
definitely look this up. Cozy synth Grandma's Cottage. You won't be disappointed, and you might find your new favorite band or artist or whatever.
Yeah.
They've got a cool shirt too on Bandcamp. It's like a I forgot. It's a long sleeve beige with like flowers on it. Very floral, very grandma looking long sleeve shirt. It's pretty cool.
It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing that someone's really out there making.
Don't even get me started on Dino Synth. Have I shown you Dino Synth?
I don't know.
I'll show you later. I'll show you in Dino Synth is the shit. I'll show you in a little bit.
I'll have to take your word for it then. But I mean, well, and you were talking about dungeon synth. This kind of like crosses over with the whole D&D I don't know, world and like reemergence of that. And like you were just talking about like the early art.
Oh yeah.
Just a little bit earlier, like
nothing compares in my opinion. Like
yeah.
The D&D art back in the day is so
like the
vibrant.
80s and 90s.
Yeah, vibrant. And I think before that it was like black and white, but even those black and white pictures, if you go back and look at like the 70s books, like artwork, it was pretty sick. I feel like that's a lost art. It's kind of the same with cartoons in my opinion. Like that falls in the same vein. Like a lot of the hand-drawn stuff is going away, and I really miss that because it takes away a lot of character, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's something about just the way that the 80s and 90s, just like almost cartoony-ish Dungeons and Dragons, like epic art, or you're talking about like old cartoons.
It makes it
It
it makes it more fictional. It makes it more fantasy, in my opinion, and it makes it more believable then, because it's like, oh, this isn't like anything I experience on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, but something that's comparable to that, I think that was a trend in music was like shoot, oh, we're gonna shoot our music video on VHS or something like that. Like the return to VHS, like it was like it's a certain type of vibe, even though it's a lower quality. It's just communicating something that's so subtle you can't really put it into words, but you can tell when it's there. Versus like if you just have some digitally rendered, perfectly clear version of it that's created in modern times. There's just like plastic and sugary and candy, and I don't know. There's something like that missing, but I mean something to do with like Grandma's Cottage and like all of this. Like when me and Jana were talking about it last night, it was just having me think about, like, we use this word vibe a lot, like young people.
Yeah.
And maybe vibe isn't even the right word to capture it, but I think the internet is, like, because we communicate and over communicate on the internet, we're like zeroing in on more and more specific, very particular types of feelings or human experiences. And you see this, another thing is like lo-fi hip hop study beats YouTube or something like that. Like if you go down that rabbit hole, you'll see like, oh, Tokyo rainy day coffee shop. Like I don't like, there's all of these extra like rain in the background, different places. Like there's very specific things that people try and communicate because they're trying to evoke an emotion or a human experience that's particular and that isn't something else. And like 90s D&D art with Grandma's Cottage playing in the background, like that is a very, very particular type of vibe.
Oh yeah.
Or you know, 90s video games. And this goes right into it, you know, like just playing like a 16-bit like Super Nintendo game and the music. It's just like something about it's particular and it's nostalgic and there's human experience in there. And I don't know, I think like these vibes, you know, that all the kids are talking about. I think there's really something to it, and that, yeah, we're zeroing in more specifically on these parts of our human experience that are meaningful to us and that we communicate, and we can relate to it over it more. Like, oh, you know, when it's cloudy and you step on a crunchy leaf and you're listening to, I don't know, whatever. The really just like the things that people say on the internet, and you're like, wow, that's like so extra, but I don't know, I kind of get it. And
I mean, that opens up a whole new vault of topic of conversation, though, of like modern music and like the sexual like shit that's going on, and like, which I mean, there's plenty of arguments for it and against it, but like,
wait, what do you mean?
Just, I mean, you look at modern mainstream music and like what it entails, and it's like, what kind of, are they even trying to invoke an emotion, or are they like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, where does modern popular music play in that too?
I feel like, I mean,
for many people, it means different things.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
definitely
no right or wrong like feeling on it.
I think about it, or I like to sometimes think about it like in a historical perspective, like 100 years from now, if hopefully to God, we're smarter and have our shit together more, and we look back on this period, like, what are we gonna, you know, think of the art? Like, what is it gonna express? And when I put on that frame, it makes me think that, like, well, we're just like the modern pop art and music. What I see is just raw desires being expressed, like really like sexual and like power, desire, you know, wealth, desires, and gluttony and vanity, and like
Really
all these
speaks
things.
for how the people who are consuming it, like where their lives are at right now.
Hey, you know, we love that stuff. We're humans. We want to watch the Jersey Shore and like fucking drink icy gulps, and like I don't know, like you know, like there's some, I'm not judging, like that is instilled in me in a way as well, but I'm also like looking outside of it, it's kind of like, yeah, this is a, you know, candy coated, like, I don't know,
Candy
just
coated
pure
reality.
desire, like
Yeah.
being expressed.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah,
How
and
many
now we
things
have the
can I shove in my face to ignore the fact that I'm dying?
well, yeah, and like we can, what am I trying to say? Like, you can evoke these things like more with like the technology and media, like Lil Nas giving Satan a lap dance. Like you can really turn things up and make it more intense, and the music and the way that the music just like pounds, and we can manipulate sound to such a precise degree to make the voices perfect and have 1,000 layers and whatever. So, it's like we can really make it intense. Like we're really turning it up. And what are we turning it up? Turning up is like, yeah, just those oldest things that we desire. And I don't know, that's kind of what I say. And when I think about it that way, it honestly makes me feel less judgmental. It's kind of just like, hey, I understand. I feel, I relate.
I love turning up.
I love turning up, but I'm just gonna like listen to Grandma's Cottage instead.
I'm gonna listen to Grandma's Cottage and turn up
and paint some eggs.
Yeah, turn up.
But yeah, vibes.
Vibes.
I wonder what kind
Turn
of vibe.
up.
See, okay, how do we create a vibe for our podcast? Because I want the vibe to be like the most chill
Vibe of vibes.
I don't know what I was about to say. Something cringy. I don't know. Just like chill and just
chill, and we talk, and
Well, here's what I'm really trying to say. I just want it to be particular, to where we're irreplaceable, because that's just good. It's good strategy, for making money. No, but really, I mean, that if you want to make something valuable, it kind of has to be unique, I guess, in some kind of way. So hopefully we're doing that.
maybe we
Give us
listen
feedback,
to our
y'all.
mothers too much, and we think we're too unique.
Our mothers. My mom doesn't. You know what's funny? My damn wife's mom. I don't know
Tells
why I
you
said
you're more
damn.
unique than your mom.
Well, I haven't. As far as I can tell, I haven't done anything to warrant my wife's family being impressed with me. But they're just so damn impressed with me for no reason. They just think I'm like so smart and for everything. And I was like, my mom will never think as highly of me as you do.
That's good though.
She's seen
That's good in a way.
too much. Yeah, no, it's great. I'm glad I don't have to worry about the in-laws.
Yeah.
It's a man's death right there.
Oh no, I mean it's kind
taking
of good that your
future
mom
minimum.
is pushing you to be, or like doesn't, is always like not telling you that you're so smart and all that.
Oh well, yeah,
That can be a good thing.
yeah. I think I needed it when I was flunking school, but she wasn't lying to me, so I wasn't smart. So, and but yeah, vibes. The Zoomers are discovering the vibes.
Are they called Zoomers because they are
Generation Z.
I thought it was because they were kids when Zoom came out. That's how much of a fuck I am.
No, I mean, yeah.
I had to use Zoom the other day for the first time in my life for a work meeting, and
Really? You used it for the first time?
yeah,
That's crazy. I use Zoom every day.
I don't know. Like, I'm not too conspiratorial about it. I just like have never really had a need for it.
Zoom opens, like, I never used Skype before. Well, I guess, so my whole entire school was on Zoom. So that's one reason I was on it a lot. But I don't know. It just opens up a whole new world. Like, you can literally send someone a URL, like a link, and they can click on it, and you can be in a one-on-one meeting. So, like, I'm talking, and I'm trying to curate a few podcast guests as well, but I've been having more and more like kind of conversations with people I'm meeting on the internet. I was talking to one of my friends last night named Luke, who comes from Australia and lives in Utah and works at a tech company. And I don't know, it's just like it's like people that are just curious and open and are like, I don't know, trying to meet interesting people. Like, what type of people are just trying to like chat to random people that seem interesting or are into similar things. And like, you know, some of the people I talk to, I meet because we're both developers or whatever, trying to get our first job, or we're both into Bitcoin, or we're maybe just like they're into a particular type of art or like metal or something like that. And you just reach out, and I don't know, like I've just had cool spontaneous interactions like that lately. And like Zoom makes a type of communication possible that wasn't before, where like if you're talking to someone else that you know uses Zoom, you know how easy it is. It's like, oh yeah, we can just drop a link at any time and like talk for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like that's really exciting for me. Like, but I'm just getting more into it now. Sorry, I went off on a rant there.
No, you're good.
But yeah, hopefully we're like with our podcast guests, we're like moving slowly, like from our circle, from our inner circle, like moving out.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, at least me, I'm trying to talk to people and have at least people that I've interacted with that I could reach out to.
Right.
You know, just be like, hey, we have, you know, we're not a big podcast, but we have a decent number of episodes under our belt, so we're serious. And I don't know, like that's...
And we do. We have quite a few, I guess, listeners. I mean, what would you call them? Followers, listeners, whatever. And we appreciate.
Yeah,
everyone
no, definitely.
who
I mean,
listens to it too.
We're
You know what I mean?
we're over. Well, I'm not going to give exact numbers. No, I mean we're over like 200 listens in the last month, I think.
That's awesome. That's cool.
So
we really
or
appreciate
downloads.
everyone downloading it, checking it out, even if
Yeah.
you listen for like 30 minutes or some shit. Like that's really
we don't
cool.
we don't have that many subscribers though, so you know that would be cool. But no, yeah, thanks for listening. But you know it'll like I don't know. I'm not really like watching the numbers.
Yeah.
Obsessing about them or anything.
That's not
like,
why we started doing this.
if people really like it, they'll subscribe.
Yeah.
Like that's what I think, because I do the same thing. So I don't know. I almost don't want to ask for it too much.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, it's not necessary for us to keep doing this. So I'm excited for shows to start coming back and people to start being out and about, because that's kind of how I want to start finding guests as well.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
meeting people just through that way, and, you know, mentioning like, hey, you know, meeting someone who you resonate with or they're interesting like right off the bat, then it's like a cool thing to have in your back pocket of like, hey, I've got this podcast if you'd be interested, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to do that once that starts happening.
Yeah, and see, I want to get like I'm trying to get guests that know about something specific, like they have specific knowledge in an area, because I feel like both of us have such like general bullshit knowledge that it's irresponsible to talk about a lot of topics if it's just two of us. I mean, not irresponsible. We can do whatever we want, but you know, it's just like I think it's the perfect dynamic if we have someone that really like Landon with psychology, someone that really knows what they're talking about, and then we can kind of just like have our general knowledge that works around that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good dynamic. But yeah, I mean, I'm talking to a handful of people, and yeah, it's been fun though. You want to call it?
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you again for listening, y'all. We'll see you next week.
Later.